Hey everybody, it's Brett from Moonstream Crypto with a quick update on the markets here. Haven't been on for a while, but I wanted to give you an update now that we have some meaningful movement in the markets and some exact levels to pay attention to and what you can use this for in your trading, what to expect the next couple of weeks. But things are looking bullish. Starting out here with the chart of the DXY, trying to break down below this 104 level. This is a daily chart, and of course we could end the day pushing back up above 104, but as I've outlined here, as the farther the DXY drops were closer toward Bitcoin rally zone, and the higher it was going as toward a Bitcoin correction zone. So I had this arrow, this question mark here. How high would it go? Fortunately, it did hold at the 106 level and has been drifting down. I would expect probably some kind of a bounce here, and that would coincide with a bit of a pullback on Bitcoin and the total market cap after Monday's rally and the weekend's rally, which would make sense and set us up for a much higher rally. So let's dive into this a little bit deeper here and just jump over to this next chart. By the way, I'll come back to this. There's a couple things to unpack here, and we'll talk about these. I've talked about these in the past, the 10 factors that could lead us to $150,000 Bitcoin. So just to zero in on this, and the chart is down below that, been modifying for about 6 months now, but we're starting to see more and more of these factors play out. We cover these in more detail in our weekly classes, but etc. On the number one here, BlackRock Fidelity, this list was created a year ago, and we've started to see over the past year more and more of these items checking off as green checks, as including BlackRock, Fidelity, and ETFs. So we have that. That was a big push. The BTF Bank Term Funding Program ending. So we knew that. We expected more bank failures to happen and pushing more money to Bitcoin. We hadn't seen that until just last week. We had silently and under the radar another 40 banks failed, and so there is a bit of a banking issue. How they planned to sort of add liquidity to the business, or the system rather, to prop things up is we don't know that yet, is unknown. But so I have so I've turned this green. The question mark is green. We do plan to see some liquidity there to bail out the banks. Also, QE money printing to pay down the U.S. debt, and going into the elections, that hasn't really started yet, but at some point they're going to need to do that to fund our own high interest on our own debt, start printing money, adding liquidity to the system. And I saw a chart this morning that Japan's liquidity cycle, they've started to add liquidity, and there's a number of things going on there with the yen we won't get into yet, or in this video rather. But so number four is de-dollarization and hyperinflation of the U.S. dollar. The BRICS nations kind of fueling that. That is quietly kind of still burning. It's a smoldering campfire, and as I've said for a while, each of these is a small smoldering campfire that, if ignited, could ignite all of them like a big old-fashioned California forest fire. So we're waiting to see what happens there with BRICS, but de-dollarization and hyperinflation right around the corner, potentially, if that happens, and around the world. And so we're just, those are big unknowns at this point. The corporate accumulation, though, we have seen an uptick in that, of course, with MicroStrategy continuing to buy more Bitcoin and raising additional debt to buy more Bitcoin. And so it's only a matter of time before we start seeing the 10Ks and the quarterlies coming out with these other companies, Apple, Tesla, starting to divulge that they're adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. Only a matter of time, I believe. Country adoption of Bitcoin as a reserve currency. Of course, we had El Salvador. I was at the Bitcoin convention in 2021 when they announced that. That was a big deal. So far, as of yet, no other country has officially taken this on. But now that El Salvador is being seen as forward-thinking, investors that have done very well of their Bitcoin investment, for a while there it was down, but certainly they are looking good right now, and I imagine it's only a matter of time before more countries hop on, and we have an official sort of FOMO coming on the country level. So all of these, again, could contribute to a fast growth in the markets. I have outlined some targets where I think we'll go, and going into this next phase. But just to finish off the list here, we talked about the post-halving reduced miner selling. If you're new to this, after the halving, the miners only have half as many to mine, therefore can only sell half as much. And previously, they were selling around $12 billion a year in Bitcoin. So, what I was talking about earlier today in one of our classes is this is coinciding with the Mt. Gox sell-off. So this is going to temper that a little bit. It's good that Mt. Gox didn't dump all of their Bitcoin that they're going to be selling last year with the 12 billion in sales for Bitcoin also. So they've timed that fairly interestingly, and so that's going to temper some of that. And of course, we just absorbed quite a bit of the selling pressure from the town in Germany that it confiscated, $9 billion or so of Bitcoin, whatever that number was. Actually, it was smaller for Germany, but the Mt. Gox, I believe, is 9 billion. But at any rate, we had a rally once that selling subsided. So I think that's going to work together with the reduced miner selling to kind of even out. It won't be as bad as people think with Mt. Gox, although do plan to see some kind of a dip here in the near term. We'll talk about where I see resistance. So we've already been seeing this play out exactly as I've been drawing it. And to finish off the list here, less available exchange supply will equal a demand surge. We've been hearing lower exchange supply, so that's kind of a moving target. But number 9, political support in favor of Bitcoin and crypto. Now we have a very favorable and leading political party that is in favor of crypto and keeping Bitcoin here in the USA. So I've turned that question mark to a check mark, so that's good to know. Previously it was RFK and maybe Vivek, but really they didn't have a chance in this race. So in the Trump camp coming out with his new VP also in favor of crypto, so that's good news. Number 10, global fiat debt bubble and commercial real estate crash. This we're at some point we're going to have to really address our global our debt bubble, and globally as well, the 35 trillion that was printed worldwide during COVID, and so that's going to affect that. Also, the commercial real estate crash that is sort of imminent. It's been on the radar of me for quite a while. We haven't seen the other shoe drop yet from the previous real estate crisis. Lots of empty office buildings and having a hard time leasing those office leases coming due soon. And as of lately, they've been listed as unrealized losses, both at the bank level, which is starting to affect the banks, and also at the corporate level. So we'll start to see, but I imagine as more of these start checking green, this will accelerate. And when they all green, we're off to the races. So in terms of how we could go, I've revised my projections here, and based on the last cycle, we pushed up to the Fibonacci 3.618, but we've been seeing diminishing returns in the prior cycles. So if we go all the way back, which I won't do in this chart, in the prior cycle of that, it was something like 15.618, which is not a real Fibonacci level, but around 15x. And this last cycle, it was the 3.618. So I think it's reasonable that we do go to 150K, but the higher levels, probably not. I don't know. It depends on so many variables. For now, I am targeting 150K. This has just been delayed a bit because of the sell-off here, the recent sell pressure. So however we draw this, these are never exact, but this could certainly put us at 150K. And that is also my target on the measured move here of the bull flag. If we look at this, I just saw a headline, the German's government was around 2.8 billion. I think we'll pull that up shortly. In terms of this bull flag, we're still in a macro uptrending channel with Bitcoin, so that's the good news. I did say that we would come back down. I forecasted we'd come down to 58K and hold. And we did dip down briefly to 54K and getting a bounce. And in another chart, I'll show you how I had forecast we'd come up to the 66K and see a pullback, which we're starting to, and then up to that higher range. Talk about that in more detail shortly, but here, this is a macro bull flag inside of this upward trending channel, and the measured move on this, depending how you draw it, is right up around that 150,000. So, depending on when this breaks out, a little bit higher, but I'm really targeting around 150K on this bounce. Once we break out and finally start to hit new highs, could have another pullback in front of us. Let's take a quick look at the IBIT here, the 4-hour. This has been very telling along the way of what's to come. And I was recently noting here, just turning off our ERI signal here, but lots of gaps now that the IBIT is an institutional product. It's a Wall Street product, not open on the weekends. And so just like the Bitcoin, the CME, we can see gaps that happen over the weekend or whenever markets are closed. And just like the CME, I've been noticing on the IBIT, at least, these gaps do tend to come back and close. And so it's worth noting. Doesn't mean that they have to, but it can show you where the markets, they typically gravitate toward these open gaps. We had a huge gap here over the past weekend. So this is a gap that will likely fill at some point. And doesn't mean that it has to, but I would imagine this supports my thesis that we do see a bit of a pullback here into this range down around this $34 before continuing higher. And so for Bitcoin on the monthly chart here, we can sort of see that. I had drawn this arrow a couple months ago. We've mostly been going sideways, but at some point I do imagine we see a pullback into this range around 61K. and then before going higher, we'll just have to see. And on our other indicators, we did have a big RSI on our RSI Pro signal. I don't want to get too far into this. We're okay on the weekly or the monthly time frame rather. I'll come back to that in a moment. On the weekly time frame, let's see if we look at where's my other chart. Bear with me here. It's not this one. Well, I think it might be. Got a couple of charts here for Bitcoin. This is the one. All right, so yeah, down on the lower side, you can see Bitcoin. This just popped in. Bitcoin sale nets German government 2.8 billion. Maybe go down as the worst decision in history once Bitcoin's over 100,000. But anyway, this also sort of triggered, not triggered, but was poorly timed considering that what they're calling the Trump rally kicked in and really rallied prices. At any rate, good for us, bad for them. That's on them. In this chart, though, call your attention to this black line that I drew about a week ago, actually. And it played out exactly. This black line, I haven't adjusted it, and I drew this. I did see that we'd pull back here and retest this sort of 56K area, and it did dip down into that 54K area before pushing up to the 66K area. These are some of our indicators that show order blocks. So these are sell orders, and the green ones are buy orders, and so that's our order block detector that we use. And essentially, though, I forecast that we'd come up to 66K. We'd have some selling pressure. I don't know that we'll come back down to retest this level. What we'd hope for actually is a higher low. So instead of coming down that much, see if we can draw this here within this other indicator. It doesn't like us to let us do it over them, the other ones, but I'll move this over. And that's a fairly terrible arrow on that one. There we go. So with that, I'll move that over to where it should be. If we were to see a dip more like this, I would think that would be a little bit more likely here, so that coming back in this range, 61K, 62K, and then powering up above. The other question mark is, do we push up above to a new all-time high? Do we sell off here around 69K as resistance? And really what we need to see is the fifth attempt at new highs, make it. It's a make it or break it attempt, because typically breakouts happen and breakdowns happen on the third attempt or the fifth. Usually that's the higher probability. We didn't, the third attempt rejected, so I was fairly confident the fourth would as well. And we had our signals firing on the weekly time frame also. We called this drawdown right in here, and I'll show you that in a minute. So all the way down here, but that fifth attempt, so important. If we reject here, then we've got problems. We've got problems, deeper lows, maybe back down. Some are calling for 46K. But I think the wind is at our back. We would most likely see a push up above this level and a retest. Bitcoin doesn't always retest, but once above here, we would normally expect to see a chance to get in before the parabolic rise. But as we know, anything can happen. And what I'm going to do is just extend this line out. So these are the scenarios we'll be looking at next. In terms of the weekly time frame, let me just take off all the drawings here for that bull flag and put back on our early reversal indicator. These were the signals that we had for calling the market cycle top, because they matched up exactly from the prior market cycle top. So on a weekly time frame with Bitcoin, sorry, that's a different chart here. Back in the 2021 top, our signals, when these four things happen, we know to get out. And it's our early reversal indicator, which measures programmatic and institutional buying and selling. And there was a bearish engulfing candle there. Another chart somewhere I have these highlighted, that, and then our trend strength indicator going red to green, and our RSI and our signal line going red. So that was the market cycle top back here, those four, actually five signals. And we saw it again on this retest. If you're a fan of the Wyckoff patterns, this was kind of a retest here. But also saw those same signals right here 3 weeks ago. So I was telling everybody, hey, I don't want to be saying this, but we're seeing those same setups as we saw in the last bull top. And it was a little bit different because our TSI rolled over sooner, but I won't go into too much detail. But these are the exact signals we'll be looking for the next cycle top once we do break off to new highs. So with all of these things, always have to keep in mind where you are in the market cycle. And certainly cycles kind of dictate where and when things happen a lot of the times. Currently seeing a bullish early reversal indicator on the weekly time frame. So I could see a couple days of pullback here and then continuing higher. I do believe that's what happens. And so in terms of other things to look at, I'm going to take a look and share with you the total market cap. And so that, just some news popping up there. Total market cap, big sell blocks here on the weekly time frame around 2.6 trillion. We can also see that on the daily. So it's a bit unclear here. We do have a bullish early reversal indicator off the 50-week EMA for the total market cap, and bullish hidden divergence here, which we can see by this green circle. So again, it's, I think macro, it's going to push up to those old highs. With some pullbacks here as we go, and again you can see a little bit better on the daily all of this sell pressure up here throughout the total market cap. This is sort of an aggregate of all the selling levels on the different coins and projects. So again, I think we're going to see some resistance around this area. We could push up in here, but it's going to be probably August, I think, before we start breaking into new highs, because we've got all this resistance in these areas here. And but the good news is that I do see that happening, and then we're off to the races. And once we're above 3 trillion, which was the exact market top, if we just turn off our ERI Pro here and show you this. So the total top back here in 2021 was at $3 trillion. So you want to be watching the total market cap. These big round numbers are more significant than the actual coins. So we saw, 2 trillion was an important number, 1 trillion also. So keep an eye on the total market cap numbers, and you can also watch the total market cap 2, which is excluding Bitcoin. And but for the most part, I'm watching the total market cap. The total DeFi is up a little bit, but all of these will run in tandem once Bitcoin really gets going. By the way, if you like the content here, make sure you like the channel and subscribe if you haven't already. We do periodic TA at important times in the market. So other than that, some noteworthy coins finally pushing higher, like helium finally getting back above its 50-day exponential moving average, looking pretty good there on daily, weekly time frames. And number of these trying to build back support. We've got Fetch Coin, a lot of these in these downtrending trading patterns and channels. We're always looking for when that new trade channel starts to the upside. But typically, if it's below their 50-day exponential moving average, and or there's a sell block right overhead, I'm not ready to buy. I think Filecoin probably comes down around $3 again, down to 3 in this buy block before running higher on any pullback. And so a number of these, Solana is creating sort of symmetrical wedge here. We see sell orders above, we see sell orders down below. I do think Solana is strong, but probably does pull back, and at some point, it takes a little time to break out of these wedges. Usually they don't go all the way to the end, but somewhere in here we'll see a breakout. Lots of buy support down below, and I have buy limit orders in these regions, and filled some back in here. That's why it's good to use limit buy orders. And just a couple noteworthy coins here. Lido is up 7%, back up in its trend channel. Near has been looking strong. Chainlink. So a number of these, we cover more detail in some other live classes that we do, but won't get into that here. Just wanted to give you an overall feeling for what's going on in the markets, everybody. And so hold on to your hats here. We're just I think we do drift down a little bit from the 66K level, and either find a higher low. That's what you'd be looking for, is a higher low in here for a bounce to the next level, or maybe we do see a double bottom right around this 54K level, and really we'll be watching those levels as well as that trend line to make sure the fifth attempt does break higher, because again, if we fail to break above to new all-time highs on this fifth attempt in the next, say, 30 days or so, we've got trouble down below, and this could be a deeper, longer correction, which nobody wants to see, but Bitcoin always has tricks up its sleeves. So anyway, again, thanks for your time, and please like and share the video if you like what you see, and thanks always to Max for letting me show up and share time with you guys. Cheers, everybody. Hope you have a good week and good weekend, and get ready, because I think the next big phase of the bull run is right around the corner. Talk to you soon.